Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the schedule and the tribal areas, right? This is the topic on which we have been discussing right now. Okay. And basically within this particular series of the schedule and the tribal areas, okay, within this particular series, all of these are the topics we have scheduled for the discussion, like the introduction part, like the scheduled areas in India and overview of it, like the criteria for the identification of scheduled area, like the constitutional provisions and the governance, like the concerns that are related to the scheduled areas, like the administration of the scheduled areas, like the scheduled tribes, like the general concerns of the tribal community, like the addressing the challenges, okay, like the significance of the indigenous communities, like the problems that are being faced by the tribal groups, like the conclusion, and the last is the administration of the tribal areas. These are the topics we have scheduled for the discussion. If we talk about the topic we have covered so far, basically we have done with the introduction part. We have done with the scheduled areas in India and overview of it. We have done with the criteria for the identification of scheduled area. We have done with the constitutional provisions and the governance. We have done with the concerns that are related to the scheduled areas. We are done with the administration of scheduled area. We are done with the scheduled tribe. These topics we have completed so far. The topic on which we have been discussing right now, this is the general concern of the tribal community. This topic is the general concerns of the tribal community. The topic we are left with, these topics are the addressing the challenges, significance of the indigenous communities, problems that are being faced by the tribal groups, okay, the conclusion and the administration of the tribal areas, right? So this is the picture we have created so far altogether. I hope that you have revised the previous lecture in the well enough manner before you have come for this lecture. As many times I have told you, that is for your own benefit. If you are doing this on the regular basis, the thing will be on your favor. If you are not doing this, then the thing will be against you. That's it. Okay. So basically in the previous lecture, we have done with the lack of education and all. Now, the concern, we are going to talk about the in a series of the general concerns of the tribal community. Okay. So that is the healthcare challenges. Okay. That is the healthcare challenges. Like we know the schedule and the tribal areas of which we are talking about, these areas are the backward areas and all. So it is quite obvious that these areas not having the medical facilities when we compare it with the normal areas, or not having that much of medical facilities. Or even we can say the medical facilities are not at par with the normal areas, right? And basically, okay, there is a one thing, like before starting this lecture in the deeper form, let me ask you a one simple question. Okay, that is, which article of the Indian Constitution basically provides for the amendment of the Constitution? Again, I'm repeating, which article of the Indian Constitution basically provides for the amendment of the Constitution? To answer this question, you will have 30 seconds to think and answer, and time starts now. Just think about it. That is already what we have covered. Okay. So it is not so much new topic for you. 10 seconds have been passed. Last 20s are remaining. Just think faster. Last 10 seconds are there. Okay, the time's up. The correct answer of this is Article 368. Article 368 of the Indian Constitution basically provides for the amendment of the Constitution. All right. And if we are talking about the amendment, we know there are the three provisions or three type of majority that is required to pass an amendment as on the basis of the type of amendment. Okay. So basically, what are the three types of majority we have in this country? This is the another question. To answer this question, again, I will give you the 30 seconds. Okay. And time starts now. Just think about it. It is also a very easy question, you will say. 10 seconds have been passed. Last 20s are remaining. Last 10 seconds. The time is going to be up. Think about it. All right, the time's up. Correct answer is simple majority, special majority with rectification of half of the states. Simple majority means more than 50% of sitting member and the voting members. Special majority is more than 50% as well as 2/3 sitting and voting majority should be in favor. Third is 50% members, 2/3 majority, and at least half of the states rectify the amendment. Okay. So that is just a question of the previous topics we have revised. So it is also a revision for you. Okay. In the healthcare challenges, the next is the access to the healthcare. Next is the access to the healthcare. If we talk about it, we can say basically they having the remote locations. Okay. They having the remote locations, or most probably we will call them as an cutoff locations. Cutoff locations, why we are calling them cutoff locations? Because these areas are the areas which have not been indulged with the modified areas of the mainstream. Okay, that's why they become the remote location, and even access to them is not so much easy. For example, if we talk about the central India, at central India, the scheduled and the tribals are living deep inside the forest mainly, and even you can say at the plateaus area. Okay, and the topography of the area, the geography of the area is not that much of capable to go and visit them and to provide the basic amenities and even build infrastructure. Similarly, if we compare it with the northeast and the island groups of Andaman Nicobar and all, okay, so these areas are also having the difficult topography and difficult geography that makes it difficult to go and reach there and provide the basic amenities as well as the services. That's make them remote area or the remote locations. And as they are the remote locations, basically they having the inadequate healthcare infrastructure. Why? Because the infrastructure that is being used for the healthcare is limited. Okay. And basically these two conditions, being remote area, second, inadequate health infrastructure, basically limits their access to the medical services. Limit their access to the medical services. Okay. And many tribal areas often lacking in the hospitals, clinics, and healthcare professionals. Hospitals, clinics, and the healthcare professionals, they are even lacking in them. Okay. The second is the nutritional deficiencies. Like the tribal population is mainly dependent on the forest for their livelihood as well as for their survival. Okay. So whatsoever they are getting from the forest, they are consuming it. Okay. And it is true that the forest contains the many natural resources or many nutritional resources as well. But it is not compulsory that they are having each and every time of nutritional resources with them, or even they are having the essential nutritional resources with them. Okay. That makes it poor diet. That's make it poor diet. It means that the things that they are consuming, those things are not so much adequate in the nutrition value. Okay. Even they are having the lack of access to the diverse and nutritious foods. How this could be? So if we talk about the mainstream generally having the access to the marketplaces, the shopping complexes and all. All right. So the marketplaces, the shopping complexes, if you look at them, you will find that basically they are having the diverse food products. Okay. For example, if you are living in New Delhi and you want to have some food that is belong to the state of Kerala. Okay. So that you are required to visit the marketplace, you will get that. Have you gone to the Kerala, purchase it from here, then you come to Delhi? No. You just went to the marketplace and you got it. Why? Because the marketplace, the owner has purchased it from somewhere. There is a complete supply chain. There is a complete economic market chain that is working behind it. These things are applicable in the mainstream. But the tribals are living in the remote locations, in the remote areas. So that's why they do not having that kind of marketplace. They do not having the malls, they do not having the shopping complexes and all. So that's why they are having the limited access to the diverse and nutritious food that is available. Okay, because if someone is living in Chhattisgarh, in the tribal location, in the remote area, then the person is not capable to go and get the food from the Kerala. Why? Because the place where he's living in, that is not a shopping complex, that is not a mall, that is not a marketplace. Okay, that's why this is, you can say, least or quite impossible that the food from Kerala would be available there. All right, so that's make their limited access, and this is basically leads to the widespread malnutrition, because whatsoever population that is living in that remote location, all of them would have the limited access to the diverse and nutritious food. Okay, and because of this, there will be a huge number of people who are affected through the malnutrition. Okay, and this could be particularly seen in the children and the pregnant women. Why? Because these two are the one of the major vulnerable groups. However, the old age people also, but you can say the old age people with the passage of time developed enough immunity to counter this kind of things. But the children who are still in the growing phase, the immunity system, the body system is not that much of developed, then they could digest this kind of things. Even the pregnant woman, when she is pregnant, just assume she is already living her life, and she is going to give a birth to new life. There is a one body that is going to do two works, two lives. One life is for woman, one life is for the child. Okay, so not only she requires a nutrition because she is having the body, even the child who is inside her womb, that also requires the nutrition, right? That is the thing. So even the children and pregnant women, these are the most vulnerable groups that requires the nutrition and all. Okay, because their bodies having the more demand of nutrition food in comparison with the others. Thereafter, the traditional medicine. While the traditional medicine plays a significant role, there is no doubt. Okay, there is no doubt. Like the tribals who are living in the forest, they having the good knowledge of the Ayurveda, good knowledge of the primitive or traditional healthcare that was existing in India. Okay, and please keep this thing in your mind. Doesn't matter how advanced our medical system today is, but the primitive and traditional medicine system also having the great advantage on the people. Okay, so these traditional medicines oftenly plays a significant role. Okay, plays a significant role, but because those who had discovered this kind of things, the knowledge they had, that knowledge has been continuously passing, from one generation to another. Okay. And there is a condition, there is a possibility that not an adequate information has been passed. For example, suppose in the starting of this passing chain, the person who was there, he had a knowledge of 10 types of medicine. He transferred it to his another person. The person whom the knowledge has been transferred grabs the knowledge of 9 medicine, forget the one. Then he transferred it. Another one grabs the knowledge of 8, forget the 2. Another one grabs the knowledge of 7, forget the 3. Then grabs the knowledge of 6, forget the 4. Then grabs the knowledge of 5, forget the 5. Then grabs the knowledge of 4, forget the 6. Then grabs the knowledge of 3, forget the 7. Then grabs the knowledge of 2, forget the 8. Just compare this chain from starting where they had the knowledge of 10 type of medicine until now where the knowledge is only of the 2 types of medicine. Is entire education has been passed off? What should be your stance? No. Entire information has not been passed. Basically, this generation to generation, and the human limitation and the human evolution basically plays a role here. And because of this, the traditional medicines that we know today, these are not as much we knew in the historical times. So that's why they play a significant role, but they still having the limitations. Why? Because the knowledge of the primitive and the traditional knowledge is not being fully passed to the others. Okay. And that's why we can say the lack of integration with the modern healthcare systems, okay, can limit the effectiveness of healthcare in these communities. How? Because even the traditional knowledge of the medicines they had, this is of the diseases that they have been facing. Because if they never face the disease of that kind, how they could search a medicine for them? Is it possible? Like if I ask you, you are required to search a medicine that will prevent the transparency in your body. Or you can just suppose there is a new kind of disease that comes in the market where if the disease affects a person or any part of the body, let's suppose the hand, then the hand will be disappeared or transparent. So without having this kind of disease, are you able to search for the medicine? If I ask you like in future that kind of disease would be in the market and this and that, will you be able to discover the medicine right now? No. Okay. That's the same thing happen with these peoples. Like these peoples only having the knowledge of the traditional medicines that particular diseases they have been facing. But as I have told you, basically they are not ready to face the outside world. Why? Because the outside world have been on the continuous evolution from region to region, globalization, urbanization, industrialization, so many nizations are there. All right. So because of this, what happens that our bodies have been continuously in the contact with the changing environment. That's why our immunity has been developed against the various kind of disease. But the tribal peoples who are living in the primitive area since the starting, their bodies are not much that developed. Okay. So if any kind of disease affects the area and this disease is unknown to them, then they won't be able to find out the traditional medicine solution against that disease. And this could limit the effectiveness of the healthcare in these communities, even after having the knowledge of traditional medicine. And how the modern healthcare helps them in this? Why? Because the modern healthcare is basically connected with the mainstream. And if the disease has been come to the tribal area from the mainstream area, then it is quite obvious that modern healthcare system either will have the solution to cure this or even having the solution to limit the effect of this. Any of them would be have with the modern care system. So that's why the modern healthcare systems are required even after they are having the knowledge of the traditional medicine. Okay. So these are the healthcare challenges that we have discussed. Now let's move forward. After then, the next concern that is related with them is the degradation of the forest area. degradation of the forest area. Like if we talk about the tribals, if we talk about the schedules, these are the peoples who were originally living in the forest and still they have been living in the forests. Okay, it means that the only home these people are have this is the forest. Okay, and if the degradation of the forest would be there, automatically that would be a concern. Why? Because their home is getting away from them. Okay, their home is basically getting away from them. Their home is basically getting degraded. All right. So the first thing that we have here is the deforestation. Okay, deforestation means cutting down of trees, reducing the forest coverage and all. All right, that is the deforestation. And deforestation is one of the major environmental issue in the country of India. Okay, so we can say deforestation is not only the concern for the tribal community but also for the general community. Why? Because environment is necessary for all. You could not say that because we are living in the mainstream, because we are living in the general community area, so we are not prone to the environmental degradation. You are equally prone to the environmental degradation. How? Because the environment is needed for the survival of human. The tribals are the humans, you are also the human. So if the environment will degrade, that will affect the tribals, also affect you. Okay, so that is also the general concern. But here, because we are talking about the tribal point of view, so we will consider it as an issue with tribals. Okay, so when we track down the condition of deforestation, first thing we got as logging. Okay, first thing we got as logging. Just tell me what is the definition of logging. In the starting, I had told you, so I'm expecting the right answer from all of you. Just tell me what is the definition of logging. To answer this, you will have 30 seconds. Time starts now. Just think about it. Okay. Say in the beginning of this series, I have told you, I have deeply explained it to you. So I'm expecting the right answer. If you have been revising, you will know the answer. Okay. If you haven't revising, you won't be able to give the answer. That will be a self check for you. 20 seconds have been passed. Last 10 seconds are remaining. Last 10 seconds are remaining. Okay, the time is going to be up. All right, the time's up. Logging is basically refers to the activity of cutting down the trees and selling it for the commercial purposes. Okay, like there are various trees like the sal, okay, like the shisham, okay, like any kind of other trees like the walnut trees and all. These trees and their woods are having the commercial value. So generally what happen? The contractors oftenly go to the forest, cut down these trees and sell their woods in the market. Okay, basically what is happening because of this? The trees are being cut. Trees are being cut and trees are the one that makes the forest or the forest area. So when the trees will not be there, automatically the forest will be finished, right? That is the thing. So the illegal and commercial logging, there are two things, illegal and commercial logging. So the logging that has been done after obtaining the license from the government, after obtaining the permit from the government, that is called the commercial logging. And the commercial logging also having some pros and cons. Okay, like commercial logging means first, if the contractor is doing the commercial logging after obtaining the permit from the government, then the work will not count as illegal. The various legal safeguards he will get. All right, and the police administration, the forest administration will not bother him. But if we talk about the disadvantages, first, if any of the tribal community in the scheduled area is going to be affected because of this, then what will happen? He is required to pay the compensation. Second, major effect will be like there will be a limit of cutting down the trees. It means that he is required to mention the amount of trees he is going to cut down and the weight of the woods he is going to cut down. like up to 100 tons of woods contract he has got, or only up to 100 ton of woods he could cut down as per the permit. Okay, if he will try to go beyond it, that is not allowed. Okay, but the illegal is separate thing. Illegal logging is when the logging is going on without obtaining the valid license from the government. Without obtaining the valid license of the government, the contractor just go to the forest, starting cutting down trees. Okay, if the contractor goes by this, then first there will be a no limitation on the quantity of the wood. He could cut down as much as he wants. Second, if any tribal community in the scheduled area is going to be affected because of this, he is not required to pay any kind of compensation because he is not liable for it. Third, that he is allowed to sell it at his own rate. Like in the commercial logging, basically the rate is moreover previously decided or priorly decided. Illegal logging, because there is no legality in doing this kind of action. So basically nothing is on the paper, nothing has been legally bounded. So whatsoever the contractor wants to do, he could do it. Okay, but what are the disadvantages of the illegality? First, police will be after you, forest department will be after you, and if you being caught up, basically the law and order will not bear you. Okay, they will punish you at the best at you get. Okay, so basically the illegal and the commercial loggings are depleting or decreasing the forest sources on which the indigenous communities are dependent for their livelihoods. Okay, because as I have told you since the starting, they have been living in the forest. The forest is their home. Whatsoever environment for survival they required, that environment is basically being provided through the forest. And if they do not have the access to the forest, if the forest is not there, how they will be survive? That's the main thing. Okay, so this is second is the infrastructure loss or infrastructure development. Like suppose the construction of roads, dams, urban extension into the forest area lead to the deforestation and the habitat loss. For example, if there is some road that is critically important, we can take the example of Indo-China border in the northeast. Okay, in the northeast, the Indo-China border is there. India wants to make a road to the border so that the security forces could reach the borders during the needy times in a short duration. So what they will do, they will make the roads and cut down the trees and the forest, even after if the cutting down the trees and forest basically affecting the tribal community. The making of dam may affect the water receivers that is providing the water resource to them. Urban expansion, it means expanding the residence of the mainstream or the urban areas into the foreign areas, basically encroaching the lands of the tribals. Okay, and this could lead us to the deforestation, cutting down the trees, also the habitat loss, because the tribals, when their livelihood will be in danger, they were forced to live from somewhere else. Okay, so students, basically this is the thing that we have discussed in this lecture. Okay, in the next lecture we will continue from here. Till then, just revise all the facts and figures that we have discussed in this lecture. Okay, and be ready for the next lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture and thank you.